Yo, welcome back to Wook Plus. It's the Playing in the Sand after show, but not Dead and Co. Today. We got a Goose night. What's up, Kev? What'd you think of that show?
Um, I have a theory. I think it was two different shows. I think it was the first set was one thing and the second set was something else, and I think that they met their objectives with what they were trying to do with that crowd, that big of a crowd on a beach in Mexico.
I thought, personally, I thought that show was fire. I thought it was entertaining from start to finish. I thought they played to the mixed crowd, right? Because I'm sure there's some people there that were more Goose head, Goose fans, and some people had never seen Goose before, right? Probably the majority.
Never
Uh,
even heard of them, probably.
Never even heard of them. I think we'll go through this set list, but I think the way they handled Bobby, and I don't know if that was Matt and Bobby's decisions or how much say Goose had in it, but I thought the way they played that was perfect. Peggio was a perfect way to get their feet wet with it. Yeah, I mean, I don't love every song they played, but I was really impressed with tonight's performance.
My theory is the first set was very Grateful Deady. All the songs were familiar. If you're a Deadhead and you heard them, you're like, okay, I know this groove. I can feel this. It isn't pushing you too far. It isn't any weird electronic noises. And they built it up until they did the acoustic. All right, let's ease them in. All right, hey, Bobby's here. It's just Rick and Bobby. It's cool. You guys can like this. And then boom, they bring the whole band out. And I thought the Tomorrow Never Knows was simply fantastic. I can take or leave hard to handle, but
Yeah, I agree. But Tomorrow Never Knows, and it was almost like, and Goose has played that a bunch of times before.
not in like 6 years.
Yeah, but it was a great choice, man. It was just a really good choice. So let's start at the beginning though, because I hear what you're saying about the daddy stuff, but I also feel like I don't know if I agree 100% because the pancakes, man. All right, let's go to the beginning. Sorry, we're jumping all over the place. All right, so they open up with Hunger Sight, which I think is a really beautiful song, and it was a really beautiful rendition of it. I don't know if
It's an
that.
opener.
No, I mean I liked it in the opening. They play very pretty songs, right? Like, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like, it's a
And
very
that
beautiful
that
song.
goes to my Grateful Dead thing. They played a meaningful, a beautiful song, and everyone was like swaying in the breeze and oh, this band's okay. And then they do a Western Sun, which is another it's a carbon copy.
Right, and it's like folksy, and it has the train beat, and like,
Yeah.
right, I get it. The heads are like, I know how to dance to this. It's a train beat.
Right.
Okay, all
And
right.
then boom, California Magic. That's Grateful
Oh,
Dead. You
I
know?
love that so much. That, like, I don't know how do you explain that. Like the heavy strut, the lean back. Like it just makes you want to like lean into the groove. Yeah, yeah, okay, all right, I'm with you. I'm with you. And then man, that Rockdale. So one thing I think, and I don't think this is going to be like a mind blowing revelation. I think people that watch Goose and have been following them all along will know this. But one thing I think they do extraordinarily well are the climaxes, the Type One planned out climax, like traditional
Yeah.
jam climax. And this was the first one of the night that was just complete fire. The way they climaxed out of that jam, I thought was perfect. Really well done.
And another thing that they do is the Grateful Dead always like they did Minglewood. Jerry took a solo, Bobby took a solo, Brent took a solo. Next verse. Goose gets into that. Peter will do his piano thing. Rick will fall back. Then Rick does his thing, and then they'll give a little space to Trevor to do something. It isn't exactly like the Grateful Dead, but it seems like they've cut out these things into the jam, whereas Fish just is
Yeah, but
whatever
Fish wasn't
happens.
always like that
No,
though.
they weren't. They had
And
to learn
I
that.
think of it as like just a young band, like a green band, an extraordinarily talented band. But that was one thing I was thinking about tonight too, was how much improved each of them have. Maybe not Rick. Rick, I feel like has always been kind of like top notch, like next level musician. But like Ben, back on the kit, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago when I first heard him, that was one of the things that was hard for me to get into. Right, was like because of how he played. He would always like ride the floor tom or not really have a nuanced groove. Yeah, that's true. But now Ben is a fucking extraordinary jam drummer. I mean, let's be sure he's not anywhere, nor do I ever think he would be near Fish. Like, but no one is. But
Right.
he's grown and evolved so much over the last few years, and I think that's kind of how the whole band is, right? They're
Do
continuing to
you
grow.
think having Jeff added during quarantine helped Ben become a better drummer?
So there's a couple things to that. I think that a lot of bands need the percussionist to fill in the flourishes and fills that somebody like Fish could do on his own. But I was not a big Jeff fan at first because I thought he wasn't being properly utilized. I thought he was playing timidly. He was real low in the mix. Didn't bring anything to it. I thought tonight, though, he was up out front a little bit more. And I realized in the playing tonight that it frees Ben up to be a little more creative with his choices. Right. So I think having that's it's almost like a security blanket, like a comforting thing. Right. Like he's there. Right. Well, not a crutch, but like it's like he's holding this.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
He's holding this part down so that Ben can be a little more creative with his playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then we got Silver Rising, which I guess is the werewolf song.
That's cool. It's kind of cool.
It sounds like right before the part where it drops into Peter doing the piano, it sounds like they could say half the way to the moon, and they could go right into half the way to the moon there. And it throws me every time, and I'm just like, eh. So
yeah. I like the way it ends, though. I like it gets that fast snare beat and the high energy. Yeah,
it's cool. Rising. It does. It gives you what it says, what it'll give you. And then my favorite song. They did my favorite song. So Pancakes. Pancakes had, I noticed in the beginning that the keyboard was different.
Yeah, heavy synth.
Right. And then I saw Ryan Storm, friend of the channel, say that
youthful Ryan, if you will.
Right. He was talking about them having to rent the equipment. We were having a conversation about that. So Peter couldn't get exactly the same thing. And I'm wondering how much it went to, like Pancakes had a little bit of different keyboard thing. Animal kind of had a different keyboard sound. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it, though. I thought Peter, he didn't play guitar once tonight. And I, for one, kind of
He had it at the ready.
Did he? I didn't. Yes. Well, he didn't have it on his back the whole time.
He didn't? Okay, I wasn't paying that close attention. Maybe he's moved on. Maybe that was his security blanket. And
he's a great keyboardist. He doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, Pancakes is another song that the chorus sounds super like a Trey song, like a Breath and Burning almost or something.
Yeah.
But fantastic jam. Fantastic jam on the Pancakes.
And that's as far as they pushed the crowd. Was with the Pancakes, and then they brought out Bob. So if they had lost anybody, all of a sudden everyone was like, "Oh, there's Bobby."
Yeah, I thought Bobby sounded great singing Peggy O, like way better than he sang yesterday. I thought because like watching yesterday, he was a little bit off. Maybe he wasn't warmed up or whatever. But I thought tonight he was right on pitch, right on. He was a little raspy. Tomorrow Never Knows, but
right.
Peggy O
that's a tough song to sing. It's one of those things. Maybe it isn't exactly in his range anymore. Yeah. Or it's barely in his range. But Peggy O was good. I think Oberlo, whatever that side project with Rick, Peter, and Jeff.
Yeah,
have done Peggy O. So that has appeared before. So that was a good, comfortable thing for Rick to step into playing with Bobby. That has to be a little overwhelming. Hey, I'm standing next to Bob Weir, and then Bobby looks at, right, and then Bobby gives you the nod, and you're like, "What am I supposed to do? Do I solo? Am I supposed to sing?"
Do you think it was more intimidating for Rick playing with Trey or playing with Bobby?
Probably Trey, because I think that he was probably more idolized Trey than Bobby growing up.
Right.
If anybody would have
respected Bobby, but idolized Trey.
Right, because he's a lead guitarist. So I think, Bobby's a rhythm guy.
Right.
And then we got the Tomorrow's Never Know, like we talked about, Hard to Handle. I was not a fan of, I've never been a fan of the song. I wasn't a fan when the Crows broke it out. Pigpen, it was not my favorite song of his. So, but the band knew it, so it was comfortable, and it was mid-tempo rocker there to close everyone out. leave everybody psyched for more.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good way to end the set. It wasn't great, but it was I think a very strong set. Nothing in that set was like, oh man, I can't believe it, or I'm not sure about that.
Interesting that they chose 3 covers instead of trying to play a Grateful Dead song. Because Goose has covered Grateful Dead. They've covered Half Step, so
yeah. That's probably, I feel like that's a Bobby decision though, too. Because every time he sat in with Fish, they wouldn't play.
Well, the one time in Nashville, he sang Miss You.
Yeah, but I thought you were saying Dead songs.
Well, they did Playing that night, didn't they? With Fish?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, they did Playing, and Trey sang Playing. It was weird. Trey sang Playing, and Bobby sang Miss You.
But that was after Fare Thee Well, so I mean, all right.
I think Peggy O is actually a traditional. If you go to Dylan's first album from '61, he does it, and I think that Taj Mahal did, but I could be wrong, Matthew.
I'll throw that up there so people know who you're talking to. Yeah, I'd be honest, Matt. I thought it was 2, but Kev's way smarter when it comes to that shit than I am, so I wasn't going to argue with him. That's how I know it. I know it as a Dead song, so...
Well, but it might be one of those things like Stagger Lee is an old...
Zook is agreeing with you.
Right.
Yeah, and then so we're at Setbreak. Our tradition here on the after shows is to use this for some housekeeping. So we'll ask you to go ahead and like this video, share it with some of your buddies that might be into Goose or Fish or whatever. Subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of content coming up. We've been on a roll lately.
I think tomorrow night we'll be here, and Tuesday night and Wednesday night.
Well, you and T will be here tomorrow night because you're the old heads. And then Wednesday night we'll be talking with Mike Fenoy on Wook Plus Live, so that'll be great. That guy's funny as shit.
Yeah, we got some great Wook Plus. Since we're doing Dead and Company, can we talk about the week after? Can I mention that name?
Yeah.
Bob Minkin, photographer, did the Grateful Dead in the 80s and 90s, is coming on, so we can get some more stories about the Grateful Dead and talk about his photography and what his art is. That should be amazing. Yeah. So make sure you ring that bell, and that way you can be annoyed on your phone every time we post something.
All right, let's keep going. People are done with the housekeeping shit. All right, so to start the second set was a slightly slower Animal, and it's so funny because I wasn't super confident in the fact that it was slower. I was like, this seems slower. And then I saw a bunch of people tweeting about it, and it was like, it's funny as shit. Do you think it was because of Bobby and like respect for that, or if they just trying something different?
What, with Animal?
Well, that was the joke. Yeah, they're coming out slow after playing with Bobby.
Well, I thought Hot Tea was a little slow. I think they were just, I don't know if it was slow as much as looser. They were just, loose. They were vibing. They were island vibing, and I think that's how that came out.
Yeah, you know what? There is actually something to be said about that. The ocean breeze in your hair. You're at a resort.
You're like, yeah. I'm going to the buffet after.
And fucking Rick, man, an Animal again, just slaying it. It's like that guy can fucking tear it up. It's so good. I hate to be that guy because that's like the cliche like Goose fans just like, oh, Rick's so fucking, but he really is like fucking really good.
He is good. And then we got the band. I love the band.
And it was a fun rocker.
They did a good job. I'm glad they didn't do an 80s tune because I have trouble with their 80s tunes. Most of those covers. Electric Avenue, the Kenny Loggins.
They're fun though.
Pat Bennett.
No, you don't. You don't know how to fun?
I lived through it. I was traumatized as a teenager with all that shit. So.
Right, but for the youth, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like for those of us, there's like it's a fun, like we remember people talking about it in the 90s. We weren't your age in the 80s.
Right. I gotcha.
I say that as if everybody watching is my age, but there's probably people that are like, yeah, Kev, fuck that.
There's a great swath. Or a Thatch. Maybe.
Thatch was a monster song, dude.
That's their Plasma.
Yeah. I don't know. Plasma and a few other things all jumbled together. It's funky.
What I mean by that is I think that if you put Thatch somewhere in a set, it's going to work. It's one of those songs that can show up anywhere.
Oh yeah, well in that case, I agree. And it's a very, I think it's probably the most original or unique song that they played tonight. That's like really has that Goose feel. Um, I loved it, dude. It's funky. It's fun. I love the way it's written. I thought it was great. And then this to me, we went into the one weak spot in my opinion. And I mean, I don't want to be, canceled for not liking a Goose song or whatever. But the old sea is I don't know. Like I'm not a huge ballad guy to begin with, and like slower songs, but like this one was particularly rough for me. And I know they love it. They play it all the time.
It's one of those cases for me. Well, there's two things they could just skip and do the jam. They could skip the lyric parts. I know Ryan's going to shoot me. We were talking about this, but I have a thing with jam bands doing meaningful songs. I don't think that. I think it's a case of stick to what you do, stick to what you know, and there it is. But
you're treating jam bands like they're hookers. You're like, don't read sweet poetry to me. You're here to felicitate.
Right. I'm paying you by the hour. So the jam out of This Old Sea was really fantastic. I'm just like, that's so great. And into
the highlight, though, Moby was fucking
the whole sequence from the jam out of Moby. Yes, yeah, definitely
amazing, so good. Yeah, and then the last song of the set, Hot Tea.
Again, a little slower, a little looser. It's a workhorse. I think they played it close to 100 times, Ryan, if you're still out there. In 5 years or however. I mean, it hasn't been around that long. That's a lot of plays. So I think they're really comfortable, and it was a great way to close the set.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that, Trevor. Like, I like that they had the it really featured bass and had like the bass solo for fucking, I don't know. It felt like 10 minutes.
But it was very tasteful. It was good. Bass solos can be meh.
I agree, but he was a little bit off too. You could hear in the beginning, just it wasn't fully locked in, but he didn't get like what do you call it, rattled by it. He didn't let it affect him.
He just rolled with it.
He just rolled with it, and then he fell into the pocket, and you could feel like maybe like 4 bars in, or like 8 bars in, once he like kind of sits there and lands in it, and then it was amazing. It was butter, and he was just playing really well. Again, another awesome climax out of it, and a great way to end a really good show. So,
yeah, and then we got Elmig the Wise.
Yeah, which is a fun encore, I guess.
I like it. It fits in with, it has a silly story and, the lyrics, and it's about a made up person, and it has a good jam. It's what a jam band should be, not This Old Sea. Elmig the Wise is the blueprint.
I kind of love that take of yours. I don't know why, but I kind of love it. All right, so some other notes I thought too, just general notes
about Peter.
Well, all right, you want to start there? I was going to
go
open
your mouth about that.
All right, so we've been positive about Goose all night, right? Talking about this. Peter kind of just strikes me as the guy in your crew that's like a little too nice and a little too annoying, and like always up to like some sort of hijinks or shit while you're like at a show on a head
hijinks. What is it, fucking Scooby-Doo?
Right, like you're there just trying to chill, watch the band and stuff, and he's like goofy smiling and clapping and talking in your ear and shit, and you're like, dude, just chill out. I'm just like, I'm in the middle of this jam, and you're a little much. He's a little extra.
What did you think last night when Winona went out and was like, everybody sing? Did that make you cringe too?
No, because that's her. Like, I don't know. I think it's
yeah.
And then, all right. So let me just get canceled all at once.
How does it feel to be painted into that corner over there?
I also don't love the wearing the guitar for an entire show on his back, which he didn't do tonight. But like, that's kind of a little knobbish to me.
But he's ready to swing it around and rip a solo if he needs.
Yeah, which is going to be like a third as good as Rick. So
I
it's
love
like
that look. See, he should have been in Sci-Fi Soldiers with the guitar strapped on his back, ripping around, laser some people.
Yeah, listen, he's a phenomenal musician. He has a great voice. He's a great keyboardist. He is a good guitarist too, and fans like him. And I don't want to take that away from the fans that like him. I was just saying, like, he's not my favorite. Like, I could see in my mind and in like my imagination hanging out with the rest of the band and getting along with them and being like in a crew and everything being great. And he would be like the one that I was like, yeah, it is cringe. It is fully cringe, Trey. I knew Trey watched this fucking show. Yeah, and so the other why do we do this? I don't even know why we fucking do this. The other notes was I thought the mix tonight was a lot better than last night and other nights. And I was wondering if it was Goose's sound engineer, maybe like them coming up with streaming and stuff.
I bet you Dead and Company has 2 sound engineers and they were paid to work the whole weekend. And the boards were set up with 2 separate feeds.
Yeah.
I just got
don't
this
you agree
feeling
that
in my
the mix
gut.
was better tonight?
I thought it sounded great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could hear the bass. I could hear, everything very clearly. Everything was mixed well. Now the cameras, on the other hand, they were kind of shit. They were, I mean, it was passable, but not.
We got some backstage shots.
Yeah, I mean, there were some cool shots, but there was also like a lot of miscues and, they were all over the place.
We're getting conflicting reports from the front line.
No, so Trevor, I thought was low actually, it's funny because I wrote that note in Hunger Sight. He was low, but by Rockdale, they had it fixed perfectly. They adjusted. So I think that they've actually made a conscious effort to work on that. Yeah, I agree. Fuck Nugs. Dude, if you're going to put a note up, leave it, Kev. You're giving me like seizures how fast you're flashing the chat on this screen. Yeah, no, I thought that was good. Do you have any other thoughts?
A great show. I guess my thing is, like I said, it was loose. It's a one-off show. They're down there hanging out. My question now is, does anybody, and who, if somebody does, show up at Dead and Company, come out? Do you think Rick will come out and do a song, or do you think maybe the drummers pop out and get to do drums with them?
I think the drummers 100% come out during drums. Like, I don't think that's a doubt, no doubt in my mind. I don't think Rick's going to share the stage with Johnny Salami. I just don't see
him letting that happen.
I don't see that happen. I think Bill and Mickey are the guys that are going to be cool about, because like the whole Rhythm Devil, like the whole drums thing has always been like a collaborative
I could totally see Rick coming out and playing with them is Franklin's Tower. Because there's lots of every verse there, somebody could take a solo, everybody gets to have a solo.
That would be great. I mean, I would love it if he did, but I don't know. I find it hard to imagine. Yeah. We'll see, man. And then after the shows, you come back here 15 minutes after Encore and hear Kev and T pontificate about what they just saw. And yeah. Cool.
I'm trying to get a guest on one night. We'll see. Maybe have somebody.
Oh, I love it when you're all vague.
Drag it out even longer. Like, subscribe. We love you. All
right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.